Hi, and welcome to the Tanko Mobile Podcast. It is, April 6, 2016. It's been a little while since I've done a podcast. I've been traveling a ton, and as you probably know, I had some serious technical difficulties with my internet service provider, which made these podcasts virtually impossible, but that's been fixed, and I'm back with a vengeance and with a special guest who is none but the incredibly awesome and mostly cool Joshua Vergara of Android Authority. Hey, Josh, how's it going?
What's going on, everybody? I obviously have to do that every time I introduce myself. It's a habit now. I feel like it's a tick at this point.
Right on. So this is about an hour. I've obviously, you and I both have played with some really cool phones since the beginning of the year. No particular order. The ones that launched were the Honor 5X, the Mate 8, then the Robin from Nextbit, then the G5, then the Galaxy S7, and there's more coming soon. The P9 was launched today in the UK, and I went crazy about it on my Twitter for a second there. You probably saw, just because I'm a very goofy person, I just went on about it.
You're probably the one that will have to tell me a bit more about the P9 because our guys Chris and Narav are at that event right now. So they're the ones who have all the info on it and everything. What did you think?
I can only go by what I've read and the kind of like, what's the word? The rumors, right? So, basically it's a P8 improved with a Kirin 955 and comes in two sizes, a plus version that's 5.5, a regular version that's 5.2-inch screens. What's interesting to me is that they're staying 1080p, both of them, which is very much the trademark of what Huawei's been doing, saving battery life by capping their displays to 1080p. I don't think it's necessarily a bad strategy. Although it's interesting because I would have kind of liked to see a flagship with a QHD display. But what really has got me, and you know, you're the same, interested here is the dual camera setup, right? So we can talk about that if you want. All I understand, so just as a preface, Huawei's done this before with the Honor 6 Plus, which I reviewed for Twit last year. And they used dual color cameras to give you like this variable depth of field. You could go from f/0.6, 0.6, all the way to f/16 by some software trickery, and it looked great. It wasn't like this artificial looking thing. And you could do it after the fact. You could refocus after the fact. And so all of that exists on the P9, but instead of doing two color sensors, they did one monochrome sensor that optimizes the light and contrast gathering, and one color sensor that gets you the color information. You combine the two with the parallax, you now have the ability to do all bunch of really cool software photography trick. And I really think it's the future. And I was wondering how they would iterate on what they did with the Honor 6 Plus, because it kind of disappeared and that was it. That's all I know. I think it's going to be cool. Of course, you know, Leica's involvement here. What's your take?
Well, first of all, you're going to see me swatting a little bit. That fly finally reappeared. So
that's awesome.
I liked the 6 Plus. I thought it was a great phone. And there's just something really nice about having the word honor on the back of your phone. Like there's something really cool about that. The dual camera setup was pretty nice. Though I will say, as a photographer, f/6 is highly, it's impractical. It's so impractical.
I mean, it's just equivalent of, you were never shooting at that, right? You were shooting at what it was, f/0 2.0 or something.
Hardly, yeah. And the other thing too is, you know, if you were going to shoot at that low aperture, it's for the low light capabilities, not necessarily for the depth of field. But the f/6 didn't help with low light. Ultimately, if I remember correctly, it was an effect.
But there was a low light mode that would take both cameras and expose them simultaneously, and because
that's true,
it couldn't do OIS because they have two lenses that they'd have to synchronize, and I don't think the P9 has OIS because you'd have to synchronize two lenses. But if you set the Honor 6 Plus on a tripod, like I did a few times, you could get, in low light mode, you get some incredibly clean, like ISO 100 shots. Long exposure, like 3, 4, 5 seconds. They were really great. So that was what I was excited about. Of course, this is before the G4 gave us really good low light, and the Galaxy S6, and now the S7 and the G5, and
for sure.
So we've been spoiled this last year with camera phones on Android. So
yeah, last year when the S6 came out, I said that that phone was going to be a turning point. That was going to be where smartphone cameras all of a sudden were becoming not necessarily I think it's a pipe dream to think that any smartphone camera is going to be as good as like a DSLR or a mirrorless or a point and shoot. But I think that they've really come of age finally. And it's incredible. I really like where that's going. I just put up a vlog on my personal website. The 99% of that vlog was filmed on a S7. and I'm getting a
So,
lot
you
of,
know, it's
yeah.
funny you mentioned that, because I did a video, which I haven't put up on my YouTube yet, but stay tuned, it'll happen this week, that I did like of a summary of my experience at Build, Microsoft's conference last week. You were there too.
Oh.
And I filmed it
We never saw
completely.
each other, by the way. We never saw each other at Build.
You weren't in the press room, which is like where I was kind of hanging out with everyone. But what's cool was that I used the G5 and the Galaxy S7 to do my video. So I use the G5, you know, for those super wide angle, actually, where is it? It's my pocket here. For those super wide angle shots, ta-da-da.
Yours
and
looks
then,
so
you
much
know,
better.
so, but like this, right? Like that, like holding it, you know.
I might be able to
I
show it
did
right here,
that,
actually.
and then like selfie style, and it's awesome with a wide angle. You can never miss your face. Exactly, like that.
Yeah. That makes it really
And then
easy.
look at that. How cool is that?
And then if your hand is just barely right there, you could see your hand because it's super wide.
Because it's exactly. So I did that, and then I used the Galaxy S7 for the close-up shots of a few devices that I found there that were interesting. There were a couple of Windows Mobile 10 phones there that kind of caught my fancy. There was the Vaio phone from formerly Sony, and then an Acer phone or something. Anyway, here's a Galaxy S7 Edge. I have an S7 Edge in gold. Yes, it's an AT&T. Sometimes beggars can't be choosers, guys. You know, I really hate carrier phones, but I didn't have a choice in this matter.
Yeah.
My G5 is unlocked and multi-band, which is really great. So let's talk about these phones. Like you and I were both at Mobile Congress.
Mm-hmm.
We got to play with these phones very early on. What is your takeaway? What is your favorite so far?
My favorite? Oh, that's such a hard
It's hard,
question.
right?
It's a super hard question because I thought that I was safe when this question was asked of me because I always think about the same thing, camera. So last year, exactly. Last year, it was easy to make that choice. There are certain cameras that just perform so much better than others. And typically that was the Samsung camera. But this year, it seems like a lot of manufacturers are starting to figure out like what their little niches are. And while the S7 has a great camera package and it's a wonderful camera to use, like I said, I used it for a full vlog, a full 8-minute vlog on my website, and it turned out really well. The thing is, the G5 is just so much more fun. Like the quality may not be like 100% there, but that wide angle lens is just so freaking fun. And I can't, oh my God, I can't get over that. I will say one thing though, the S7 front facing camera, 2K video recording.
Yeah. Wow. Right.
To me, that's kind of a big deal. Like that's a nice step forward for like vloggers like us, you know? Totally. So I thought that was a big deal.
You know, for me, it's tough this year too. I think ultimately in pure technical and imaging prowess, I think the Galaxy S7 wins. Mm-hmm. Whereas last year, I honestly felt the G4 was a better choice, primarily because the Galaxy S6 did not get shutter speed control until later on, right? The Note 5 shipped with shutter speed control, but not the S6. And I was vexed by that because I want full manual. If you give me ISO, give me shutter speed, right? I mean, that's the whole point. Long exposures, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So I was like a little vexed. And the G4, I felt kind of struck a chord with a 1.8 lens versus 1.9 on the Samsung last year. But I feel that this year, the combination of very large pixels, that super incredibly fast autofocus, which I documented in a video I did for Sasha and Nicole on Mobile Geeks, literally like you move your hand, and by the time your hand has stopped moving in front of the camera, it's, you know, like, let's see if my Logitech can do this. It's pretty fast on the Logitech here, but you can see it doing it. And on this GS7, it's the first one I've ever seen where I can't see it focus after the fact. Like it's focused by the time my hand stopped moving, which is just insane. So the large pixels, the quick autofocus, and the f-stop of 1.7, which to me, you know, I'd be happy with 1.2 to be frank. It's like I'd actually ideally be happy with variable aperture, but you know, if I have a choice, a big aperture is going to always win for me. A small number. So I'm very excited about the S7. I really haven't used it enough yet to really get a good feel of what I can do in manual mode. The G5 is just a G4 camera with obviously this awesome new wide angle added onto it, which, as you said, is the most fun camera I've used in a while. I don't know if you saw Phil Nickinson took a picture today on his Facebook and G+ feed. It's of Mark Wim filming him in Times Square for a segment they're doing, and it's a wide angle shot taken from the G5, and it doesn't say he took it with the G5, but the moment I saw it, Josh, I was like, that G5.
Nice.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could only imagine, because even like, okay, so we haven't even talked about modules yet. And obviously the G5 is going to be a big part of that. But I just could think, like, now that I'm thinking about it, I've been to New York a number of times. I'm actually hoping to move there within the next year or so. Being in Times Square, like having it in this orientation with the huge building behind you, even Empire State, or where the ball drops every year for New Year's. Imagine like going this way and doing the wide angle that way. That you'll be able to get that whole thing in the shot. Like, I just realized
it is really cool. You know, I've been doing vertical panoramas for a long time, especially with the iPhones that has such a great panorama mode. Instead of, you know, stitching pictures together, it does like a scanner. It scans basically line by line, strip by strip, and builds a really accurate picture. If tried sometimes, if you haven't, I'm sure you have, because you're super creative with photography. But scanning like a redwood tree or something vertically, the output is really amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Do you remember? Okay, speaking of vertical panoramas, this is I got to do a throwback. Do you remember Do you remember the Oppo N1 and the N3?
Yes.
I miss those phones. I'm not gonna lie.
They are pretty cool.
And the creeper phone too, where I think, oh man, do I even have one in my drawer? Well, I mean, anyway, I'm not gonna go get it, but to have the part just move like this, it was the creepiest phone ever.
I know.
Oh my God, it was so much fun though, and I thought it was cool. And to just hold it there and do a vertical panorama with that automatic motor. I always thought that was so much fun. Where's my
It
N5?
was very cool. Yeah, right?
Oh, wow. But yeah, I can't, I have to give, it's a toss up at this point. And you know what, that's the thing. That's amazing. We were talking about this when we were on my podcast back in Barcelona. Thank God we can't make an easy choice right now.
Yeah, it's look, you know, I'm using the word blessed here. You know, I'm not a religious person, but I really am feeling the kind of joy here of blessed, because I feel like you can't go wrong with flagship smartphones this year. Mm-hmm. And, you know, looking into my predictive little, you know, telescope of the next week or two, you can't go wrong with what's coming. It's really exciting. And so I think
I want to use it right now so bad.
You know, it's getting yeah, I know. It's getting so difficult to choose in a way, because it's, as you said, it's like, do you want a wide angle? Pick the G5. You know, do you want the absolute best technically camera, or you want, you know, a really nice waterproof, like water resistant phone? That really makes a difference. So I remember when we were meeting up for lunch in Austin, and you're like, "Oh, I'm in the shower replying to you right now." That was awesome. I was like, man, of course you do that.
Yeah, because like my Pebble went off, and then when I realized you were messaging me, I like opened the and I had like wet hands, and I was like, this is fine. So I just started messaging with wet hands on the phone. I'm like,
that's what I'm saying. It's so cool. So
quick question though, since you touched upon that, actually, real quick, sorry.
Yeah. No, go for it.
Water resistance, or waterproofing, if you say. I wanted to bring this phone out because I wanted to see what your take was. The rumor, I mean, there's no reason why they wouldn't do this, but maybe there is a reason why they wouldn't do this year. What do you think about having an active S7?
Yeah, well, I think it's cool, but
my S6 active right here.
Yeah. So, well, there's very strong rumors that's happening, probably primarily because AT&T is kind of being very gung-ho and very successful with the active brand. Mm-hmm. I mean,
is it needed?
Well, it's more rugged, right? Look, the reality is, you know, this is what I love about the S7, right? Is that you put it next to any other 5.5-inch phone. I'm trying to find a 5.5-inch phone. Where is a 5.5-inch phone? Is the G4 a 5.5-inch? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was. Actually.
Yeah, because the G5 is lower, right? And you put them side by side here. Wait, see if I can do this with my mic in the way. And basically, you get a much more compact phone with the same display size. But that means that if you drop this on its edge, right? I mean, it's gonna break.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think the active, if it was just a rugged phone, I'd be on board, I think.
Well, this seems like a bout of insanity coming from a person like me, but the active phones are the only phones, aside from I think the Moto X last year, that I've actually bought. You know, I shouldn't ever have them. Bought it. Yeah, I'm on a contract on AT&T for this phone because I liked it that much. But far be it for me to actually buy phones. I don't have to, you know,
Right, and that's
but
the
I
point.
liked it so
Both don't
much.
have to. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
understand. Look, I think the only thing they can improve, like last year, it also improved on battery life, which really made a big difference, right? The Galaxy S6 battery life and 6 Edge were just meh, but this year the battery life is good. So but getting a bigger battery never hurts if they can squeeze a tiny little bigger battery, more battery milliamps out of there, and then make it like shockproof because it's water resistant already. Hey,
Or
why
like a
not, right?
shatterproof screen, like the
Maybe
Droid.
they can do it like what is that Moto phone that like you has 5-layer display and you can take a hammer at it and it'll bounce right
Yeah,
back.
yeah, I was just saying
That one, yeah.
Force. I don't remember.
I can't remember. You know the one I never played
Exactly.
with. But anyway, so yeah, so I think we got some good choices, and I think I'm very happy too that this year we're getting the Snapdragon 820 because finally we're back to Qualcomm actually using its own technology architecture to develop these chips, which means that they're more power efficient, less warm, less hot than 808 and 810 were last year. And of course last year the Exynos was king. I'm really, speaking of which, and we're kind of going back to Huawei. I know we talked about the P9 earlier. The Mate 8 came out late last year, and we all more or less got one at CES to play with. And I love mine, but what I love the most about it is how fast it feels. Yes, it's right here. Let's see. I got too many phones on my desk.
Your sexy black one.
Here's yeah, my sexy black one. So this is the Mate 8. Here we go.
And 7. I just realized.
Yeah, you just picked up the wrong one. That's funny. Let me clear these notifications before everybody sees all my junk. But anyway, I love how fast it is. I love how big it is, but not feeling that big because it's edgeless display almost, and it's got very little bezel. And I love the camera's good, it's OIS, and more importantly, this thing is super fast. And then it lasts 2 days, like 2 full Mobile Congress insane, super hardcore days, which really blew my mind. Because of 4,000 milliamp hour battery. And this, honestly, Huawei is really, I got an Nexus 6P that I'm using now. I was on a 5X for a while, and 5X was a bit of a piece of junk.
You saw mine, right? I showed you what I did to my 6P.
No, what did you do to your 6P?
I went to the dark side. I got branded.
Oh,
I branded it. I debranded it. Yeah.
You made it out of wood.
I've never do this, but I thought about it for a while, and I was like, you know what? Like when it came to like the OnePlus phones and all that, the Moto X's, I always wanted bamboo backing. This is not bamboo, but the I always wanted like wood backing. So I was like, you know what? The 6P is basically my daily driver.
Me too.
The application of the skin is very it's easy-ish. It's quite intricate, I have to say. But yeah, that was my branded 6P.
I did this, which is very unlikely for me. As you can see, yes, my Nexus 6P is the gold one, and it's in a case because I very rarely drop phones, but I find that my daily drivers do see some pretty good wear and tear, not drops, but like, abuse. And the plastic ones, yeah, they seem to not show scratches as easily or as well as the metal ones, I find. So I went ahead and bought an $8 super thin translucent skin, so you can still see that it's gold. And it's a little bit weird for me to have a case on a phone, but it's working, and it's already paid off. I was at South by and I dropped it on concrete, and of course nothing bad happened because it just bounced into the air and I picked it right back up. And I was like, awesome. I'm joking, and it didn't happen that way. It actually bounced onto the grass. But it did bounce, and it didn't break, and it didn't leave any lasting damage if you look at the phone, which is great. And that's that. I'm sure that if it didn't have the case on, I would at least have a scuff from the concrete on the metal, but probably also have a broken or cracked screen. So, it just fell out of my pocket. You know how it goes. So I think that worked out really well. And the Nexus 6P has been a delight, although I do find that the battery life, a lot of people said, oh, the 5X battery life is terrible. The 6P is much better. Yeah. With my use, it's about the same, actually. It's not good enough. It's manageable, but after the Mate 8, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I was about to say, 6P versus the Mate 8. The Mate 8 definitely does get better battery life, but the 6P, like, unless you're like a heavy power user, and I'm going to go on a limb here and say that, Miriam, you are probably a little bit more power usery than I am. Because I had to do an app for the arena on All About Android over at Twit, and I could not think of one because I kept going through it, and I realized I actually don't install that many apps on my phone.
No, I'm the same way. Every time, I think maybe that's the reason why I haven't been on All About Android for a while, is that every time I go, I'm like, oh, till the last second, I have to think of an app because I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in case you're wondering, this is for the listeners and watchers. The review show at Twit that I was doing before you buy is being canceled. So I'm probably going to get summoned again by those fine folks at some point in the future for some other shows and potentially be a guest on All About Android again. But it hasn't happened yet. And if you want me there, just, let the powers that be know, Leo and everybody else over there, Jason, let them know you want to see some more Miriam, and I will be around and be happy to pop in the studio for some shows. Totally. It's a bit unfortunate that the review show is gone because I really had a lot of fun with it. So that means that I'm going to try to do more on my channel. So stay tuned. I don't want to make any promises I can't keep because you know, Josh, how it goes. And congrats, by the way, on launching your vlog, which I think is great.
Yeah, it's really fun. Like trying to do videos on the daily. Okay, I'm putting myself in the weird space right now. First of all, like, the vlog is going to be where if anything cool happens in my life, that's what you're going to be able to see, and hopefully people from like Android Authority or anywhere will be able to see that. I'm trying to figure out how to link to it a little bit better without like compromising my position in Android Authority.
Where is it? Do you want to share the URL so I can people listening can go Google it?
Yeah, sure. I'm trying to find an easier way of doing this because I know a lot of people mishear what it is. So the website. Yeah, tech and tea. So tech as in technology, and the conjunction, and the drink tea. So tech and tea. So tea, the drink. People always think it's tech. Yeah, basically. My Twitter and Instagram handle is JVTechT, but that's because tech and tea was already taken for some weird reason on Instagram. So I wanted to have it the same everywhere. But you can't really go to techandtea.com right now because I have it hosted on a Tumblr. I don't know. I was thinking about it. I'm probably not going to write for Tech and Tea. I think I'm just going to focus on the YouTube channel.
Video. Yeah, that's the same. Like I just don't have time between my consulting business. And that's why I know a lot of people are mad that they haven't seen me enough on podcasts. But that's why I want to start. Like I can do daily. I don't really have time for that. But I want to do a weekly show. And I want to do it every Friday. And it's going to be like 10, 15, 20 minutes. And it's basically going to be about telling people what I'm playing with and what I'm excited about and my reactions to current news, because there's so much to unpack at each podcast because I don't do them often enough. And also, booking guests is really hard. You pretty much need a full-time person to book guests, and
for sure.
And it's because everybody's got such busy schedules, not to mention me now, having a place in SF and both Portland. I'm in San Francisco right now. And then traveling. I'm going to be in Beijing in a couple of weeks. I mean, it's just kind of crazy. So I'm going to try my best to just do it on my laptop, basically with the built-in webcam wherever I happen to be. And when I'm here, it'll be on my nice mic here and stuff. But whatever.
Are you going to Le Echo? Is that the Beijing one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm not
going. Be there?
No, we're sending Lon.
Oh yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's because I've been traveling so much that like I could use like 5 weeks.
Yeah, dude, enjoy it. I wasn't planning on it because I'm also going back to Asia in May to teach some workshops in Taiwan and then to go to Computex. And I was kind of like, looking forward to all of April in either SF or Portland or both. And then all of a sudden it's like, this happens. I'm like, you know what? You don't say no to free travel.
True.
So usually.
Very true.
And so I did. So there's something going on there with Le Echo, whatever the company is now called. They're rebranding themselves. Eco, I guess it's Eco for ecosystem is what I hear, which I thought it was Eco for green. And I'm like totally, utterly confused now. But who knows? They've been talking about doing a US compatible product for a while with their phones. They have a bunch of phones. So it'd be interesting to see if that's actually going to come to fruition. Either way, stay tuned for news from both Android Authority and Joshua's team over there, and from myself.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Honestly, like I love it when a new company comes out onto the onto the scene.
This is a good segue for talking about the Honor 5X, which is we're talking about the Mate 8, and of course the Nexus 6P is available as from Huawei because it's a Google partnership. The Mate 8 is not officially available in the US, although it's well received and an international unit will work well in the US on the big GSM carriers. So buy one, gray market. But speaking of Le TV, now Le Eco, Honor 5X, this phone came out at CES, and it's, what is it, $250? It's like super dirt cheap, right? It's insanely cheap.
Let's look that up real quick.
Yeah, look it up if you have a sec. I mean, I'm pretty impressed overall with this phone for the money. It's no Mate 8, but it's kind of Mate 8 Junior in many ways. The similarities are very striking.
It actually looks a little bit more like the 7. I noticed
because of the square fingerprint reader. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Anyway, I liked it a lot. It's not, it's very mid-range, but at that price point, it's really well made and it does the job. My only big grief with all of the Huawei phones, $199. Wow. $199. My big grief with the Huawei phones, including the Mate 8, which is, by the way, $600+, is the UI, which I immediately replaced with the Android or the Google Now launcher, and some people use Nova. But honestly, if you do that, you can live happily ever after, is what I've learned. So.
And the thing I love about the Honor 5X is like, okay, at CES we were taking a look at the phone, and people like myself and Lon, we usually deal in flagships, so when we saw it, we were like, okay, it provides everything that you would expect it to provide, and then you get a look at that price and you're like, whoa, because like leave it to Apple. Like, okay, I'm not here to bash on Apple by any means, and I've never ever do that anyway. I don't hate iPhones. If people ever think I hate iPhones, you're completely wrong. I don't. What I will say though is, what I don't like is that the iPhone SE, which is supposed to be a smaller, more like affordable phone, was $399. And that's the price of a 6P. Like,
I don't know, but I have to say, like, as an aside,
like the Honor 5X, right? So
true. As an aside, I wasn't going to talk about Apple's SE. I kind of forgot about it, but it's not forgettable at all. It is a really impressive that Apple is finally making a phone available for $400 that is, for all instances and purposes, a junior version of the 6S. And that's really impressive, I have to say, for Apple. And it's going to be a great phone. Like, I'm not an Android user, granted, you are too, but a lot of people I know are just super happy with their iPhones. And, I think it's too small, but, some people are going to love it. And the price point is going to sway a lot of people that are right now, have hesitated by an iPhone because they couldn't afford it. And now they, can afford it.
I suppose. But like, if it's for new adopters, if you haven't already had an iPhone and then maybe you broke your 6S and you can't afford a new one, that one makes sense to me. But if you've never used an iPhone before, Google and Android, everyone,
absolutely,
like it's the same price. So,
but I think you can't underestimate the appeal that Apple has. Just if all your friends have iPhones, you're more likely to buy an iPhone, and maybe you haven't yet because you're on a budget, and maybe you've been stuck with some really crappy mid-range or low-quality Android phones, like not the mid-rangers we have today. And you had a bad experience, right? Like, that's the thing. I think there's a lot of people out there who want to graduate to iPhone just because they think Android isn't great. And they only think Android isn't great because, unlike us, they don't get all the $600 phones in their pockets every day.
This is true. Yeah.
Look, I mean, and you're right. And kudos to Google for bringing the price point down, starting with the Nexus 5 of good phones for Android. More importantly, kudos for Huawei to bring out phones like Honor 5X, and Moto for doing the G. And who else is there going to be? There's a bunch. Wiley Fox, I don't know if you've heard of them. They're a brand out of the UK. I got both their phones here. I still need to do a video review. I've had them since November. That's how crazy it is. But they're great for the money. And it's changing, but unfortunately, I think there's a lot of, like, we forget because we get to play with all these great phones every day, that there's a lot of people out there that have had terrible Android experiences.
Yeah, that's fair. But to your point, the Moto G, all these smaller versions of phones. Where's our S6 Mini or G4 Mini? Like, they did that.
G5 like, Mini.
G5 Mini. Well, I know, but like for the current phones, yes. Where are we? I want to see mini phones of these, because I don't suppose Samsung will do it because this is the smaller one, and then you have the bigger one, right?
Well, so the mini thing is a good point, but I think there's two things we're talking about here. There's the mini, and then there's the affordable phones. Like the Honor 5X is not a small phone, but it's an affordable mid-range phone. And here's what I think is happening. That's where the Galaxy A and the Galaxy J live. We don't see these
Oh,
phones. We don't play with them. But I don't know if you've ever picked up a Galaxy A5 or A7 or A9. They're like a GS6 Redux. They're premium metal build. They're really nice. They're just cutting a few corners so that they can reach a price point. And they're better than any mid-range Samsung ever done before. I don't know if LG has anything equivalent, but I think they could. The problem, though, is that nobody's making small premium phones except for Sony and Apple. And I still think the iPhone SE is a premium phone. I mean, it is pretty much almost all the specs of a success at a more affordable price in a small package. The Z3 Compact was my little darling for a while. I really loved that phone from Sony. Did you ever play with that?
which one again? The
Z3 Compact.
the compact, like for like a minute. Like I because we don't really get them in the US, so we have our
No,
UK
we
guys
don't.
do that,
But this one was available unlocked on their website in the US, so that's why I got a review in it. And it's a 5.3 inch, almost edgeless, very little bezel display. So very about the same size as an iPhone 5S in terms of packaging, with a 4.3 inch screen dominating the entire front, and the same high-end specs as the regular Z3, which at the time was their flagship. So it was Snapdragon 805 or 800 or whatever it was at the time, and it was really great because it felt like you had a premium phone. It was glass on both sides. It was really nice.
Yeah.
Nobody else is doing that. I want them to do it. And not necessarily do it at a lower price. Like I think it's like the Mini Cooper and the Fiat 500 and a bunch of other cars out there that are small but are premium. It's like, why not go, instead of saying, well, we can't sell a small phone at a higher cost, why not you just if you have to cut $50 off the price of the big guy, but optimize for size so that the people who have small hands and want a small phone don't have to sacrifice performance in any way.
Yeah, that's true. And
that's what they need to do. And that's what the Z3 did. And of course, the iPhone SE in some ways does, although that cut the price by $200 compared to the S.
Yeah,
6S. So it's pretty impressive.
I would like to see it too, but like the line for me is where the S7 is, and that's the reason why I like it so much, because the 6P, yes, is typically my daily driver, but this is just that little bit too big.
It's big, yeah. Yeah, I wish the 5X was less compromised, to be honest with you, in terms of performance.
This is just a good size right here. Like
the nice. S7 regular is brilliant, and I think in size. And I think the other thing I want to see, and actually, it's interesting that the G5 has gone down in size. What, 5.3 or 5.2 inch display now again? Mm-hmm. That's refreshing. That LG was like, well, let's go back down to a more manageable size, and the phone does feel more manageable. Where did my phone go? There it is. I mean, it's barely bigger than, let's see. This is the S7 Edge, and it's about the same size. Of course, the S7 Edge has a bigger display. Where's my fingerprint reader when I need it? See? Look at them. They're almost the same size. So it's not a very big phone.
Smorgasbord of phones in front of you right
Oh,
now.
yeah, it's actually pretty amazing. I have a whole bunch. Most of them are some of them are getting a bit long in the tooth here. I've got OnePlus 2 and G4 and a Note 5 and a V10. And what else do I have? I mean, it's crazy. I've got them in piles. So they're like little piles, a Moto pile. Oh, let's talk about Robin. Yeah, I have a Moto pile, and I have like a LG pile and a Samsung pile. Let's talk about
That's a good idea. I should group my phones according to company. That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's easier to find them that way. Of course, they end up it's not really good to pile them on top of each other, especially glass on glass. You get scratches. But whatever.
Yeah.
This little guy, awesome. I love this little phone. I reviewed it for Mobile Geeks. You reviewed it for Android Authority. What's your take?
You know what? Design-wise, I love this phone. I love the Robin. It's we're talking about. I always use the car analogy, and actually, it's not on because I haven't charged it in a bit. But the analogy with the cars, I've always had this thought with my brother who's super into cars. We miss the days when cars were more blocky. Like we had like retro designs on there. Obviously aerodynamics is a thing, but there's so many curves and everything. And like having a blocky design is really underrated now. And that's exactly what NextBit did. And when I picked it up, I was like, it's like the car.
Yeah, totally.
And I like it a lot, I always have to give credit where credit is due. The reason why I love Android is because of a phone that the person who designed this phone designed. The old Droid Incredible, the HTC Incredible.
I know.
and he did a great job on this one. Now, I have yet, like, since we've been so busy, I have yet to update this, so I don't know if the camera got like the kind of upgrade that it needed, mostly in speed. But
Right.
overall, it's a very solid phone, and for the price that it's pretty good. Cloud computing, I mean, not cloud computing, cloud backup, automatic cloud backup, and all that. I haven't had to use it yet. Like I said, I'm not the most power heavy user, and I stream music, for example. So until I take enough pictures and videos with this thing, the cloud's not going to activate for me yet.
Yeah, I mean, when they shipped it to us, they shipped it to us with almost full, and I tried that for a while, and I actually saw it back up in real time and work really well. So their cloud thing works. I'm not sure I need it, but I think kudos for implementing and making it work. That's their shtick. On top of that, kudos for beautiful design. The camera could be better, but I think at that price point, it's hard to pick anything better. Their next gen, I'm sure, will be even nicer. But yeah, I think I like it.
There's one thing though, the killer feature that this phone could have. I mean, they're obviously touting that the automatic cloud backup is the killer feature, but I think they're looking at it a little bit wrong. If we had access and full control over what goes into that 100 gigabytes of storage, if we had basically a Nextbit cloud app on here,
yeah,
that we had free reign over, that would be gangbusters right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a first gen thing. They need to work on that, I think, a bit more. But I think they nailed the design. It's refreshing, and more importantly, I think a lot of people are not thinking about this and talking about it. Is that it's a startup, a US-based startup that made this happen for reals in publicly facing 9 months since they launched now almost, and they've been at it for a couple of years. It's insane that it's been so successful, and this product is totally refined and totally real. Let's not underestimate that. There's room today in this industry to make your own phone, basically, if you're a startup. That is unreal to me. That's a great story right there. Whether they'll survive is a whole different thing. I wish them luck. I want them to survive, but it's gonna be tough, right?
Yeah,
it's gonna be tough. But they could be a niche. Like, this is the thing. Like, I think as manufacturing gets more flexible, and like Wiley, the Wiley people, what was they called? I forgot. Wiley Fox, those guys in the UK. Fox, yeah. They also get custom made device. Their device built to spec by Foxconn or whatever it is. I don't think it's Foxconn, but some manufacturer in China. And it just shows that niche could be a thing in the future. That yes, the big brands, are going to always be there, but that maybe you can get to that pipe dream we've had with our Project Aura and stuff, where you can design almost a modular or a custom phone from scratch and have it built on spec, where they can 3D print the case, high quality 3D printing exists today. That kind of stuff I think we could see happening in the future, and everybody would have their own phone like that's totally custom to them. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I think that'd be great also. Did you get a look at the midnight version of the Robin?
Yeah, I have, only like briefly, but it was pretty hot, I have to say. Yeah, hotter than I thought. Like, I was like, wait, when I first saw it, I was like, that's a boring conservative color. But then I saw it in person. I was like, it's not so bad.
Yeah, the blue on the top and bottom, like, it's not just a black phone, so I don't know. It's if this phone, I would totally buy the midnight version. I think I still will. But just to be able to have it, because you never know what's going to happen. And it's nice to have a phone that virtually nobody else has. Like, I still have that mentality. But if it hadn't been for, the S7, the G5, like, coming out the way that they have so far, man, this probably would have been the daily phone. If it wasn't for the 6P, I should say. If it wasn't for the 6P, the Robin might have been a daily for me. And then I would have my mirrorless camera with me for imaging.
Of course. Yeah, so. Yeah. But I think you're right. It's been hard for me because all these phones have come out, and I've almost wanted to make every single one my daily driver for a while. And then something else, just as I was getting comfortable, something else came along that was just as cool. And I'm kind of looking forward, frankly, for it to slow down a little bit in the next few weeks until the summer when the Note 6 will come out. And but I think for now, I think we're good for a while. And so it's going to be decision time for a lot of people very soon. We're still missing an entrant that I will not mention by name, but it's pretty obvious if you think about it. Yep. And once that's out there, I think it'll be time to open your wallets and buy something for this year, folks. I think, look, everybody who watches the show pretty much buys a phone every year, so I don't think that's stretching it. And the carriers make it easy now if you want subsidized phones, for like up to a year,
Which
only,
is
right?
true. And it's going to be a tough sell too, because, as reviewers, I think it's fairly unanimously, everyone has something really good to say about everything we've seen so far. So
Yeah. I mean, it's tough, right? Like, so for me, the GS7 wins on the smallest large display phone you can buy with 7 Edge, the waterproofing or water resistance. No, it's not proof, it's resistant. And of course, the return of storage and, removable storage. And more importantly, that they even pushed the camera further. I mean, they really had no incentive to make the camera much better than the GS6. Yet they did. And that was just like, wow. And they took all the feedback, better battery life, micro SD, water resistance, all that stuff is great. I can't think of a phone that from a purely spec sheet technical perspective can beat the Galaxy S7 or S7 Edge right now. They are at the state of the art of what you can do today. And that is remarkable if if that turns you on. So I admire it for that. I still don't like touch with, but again, change the launcher and you're done. The G5 for me is the wide angle. The camera, I'm a little disappointed they didn't increment on the main camera, but adding the wide angle is really the shtick, and it's really awesome. The modularity, I'm not so sold on. I thought it was cool at first, but now I feel, yeah, there you go. Show it again, because you should be speaking. Speak at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That way I'm showing up on the feed. Yeah. And it's okay. The modularity, I have to give LG credit that they're putting themselves out there, and for the most part, I'm excited about it. My question though, okay, so I did use the camera module, the Cam Plus. Oh, let me do this real quick.
It's cool, the Cam Plus.
There you go. The Cam Plus is cool, and I used it for like 2 days at South by, and it was nice. Doesn't make the phone very pocketable, which is a problem for skinny jean users like me. But but on the other hand, here's the question that I want to pose to you, Miriam. What module do you want to see?
That's a tough one. I do, honestly, the Cam Plus module, I don't have my own yet, so I haven't had a chance to experiment with it. I think I want a second gen Cam Plus, like one that has more manual controls on it, that can control all the pro features. That zoom dial is not very useful, and it doesn't feel that great. The camera shutter key feels good. I like the fact that it's got a battery in it. So for me, I want an enhanced Cam Plus accessory. I don't think that Bang & Olufsen separate DAC is really worthwhile. I mean, certainly it improves a bit on the sound quality of the G5, which is good, but not the best.
It's not a killer app.
It's not killer. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, look, I've always been a big fan of the fact that having an integrated battery means you have a structurally stronger phone and less point of failure. And I know a lot of people don't agree with me on that. They all, I want my removable battery. And I'm a big fan of like, look, you want an extra battery, just plug USB battery pack, because A, it makes for a thinner, more rigid phone because you don't have any moving parts in there, and more reliable. And secondly, you can leave your phone on and charge it. Like if you swap batteries, you lose everything. Your clipboard, all the apps that were running in their state that they were in. Yeah. To me, that's more of a disruption than anything else. So I don't really feel the vibe about the removable battery. So I'm not sold on the modularity. You can do modular.
The thing about the modularity. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead and finish your thought.
You can do a camera grip that's a case, like Nokia did with the 1020. And that works just fine. Like, so you don't really need that modularity per se. I'm not sold on it.
Okay. See, that's the thing. I've asked a lot of people that question, and they say, wow, I don't know what would be the module that makes me really want this phone. And I think the fact that that's the answer makes it really tough for LG to truly sell this phone, because they are the ones who have to come up with the module that eventually makes us go, holy crap, that's what we want right there. And that's the tough part. I will say one thing though, the removable battery makes a little bit of sense for me now that I'm doing like my personal channel and my vlogging and whatnot, because if I choose to use this phone as my vlogger, as I think I might, if it runs out of battery, I can pop another battery in there and still use it as the camera.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Yeah, having it plugged
I mean,
into a USB like
yeah, no, you
battery
can't do
pack.
that. Yeah, I totally get it. No, I mean, look, it's got its advantages too. I think LG just threw this feature out there to see if it would stick, and I think it's smart for them that they made it so that anyone can make accessories. It's not just LG, the friends or whatever. But I think nobody's gonna do it. I mean, if it was Samsung, maybe you would see some uptake, or Apple, but LG, who's gonna do that?
Yeah.
The other thing that's vexing me, frankly, about the G5, and I know there's been a bit of a controversy, and I know that I'm stirring the pot again, but the finish on the phone, which is actually a plastic coating with paint on it, on top of a metal chassis, LG says, well, cars are painted and they're considered metal, and airplanes are painted, they're considered metal things. Why shouldn't you consider the G5 metal when it's got a coating of paint on it? And I'm like, yeah, a coating of paint with plastic to cover the antenna bands is a little more than a coating of painting, A. And B, it just doesn't feel like metal to me. From the day I touched it, I was like, this is metal. It's a new finish, they say. So I believed it because it's a new finish, they said. The microdizing finish, but it does not feel like metal to me. It feels like plastic, and it turns out it kind of is. And that vexes me. I'm disappointed that they didn't explain that really completely up front when they briefed us on the phone. I don't know if you saw I don't know if you saw the whole controversy. Erica and somebody else figured it out, and yeah.
I did, and to be honest, it's something that will bear mentioning in the ultimate reviews and whatnot. Just so everybody knows, and you have a bit of a preview, I'm actually not the one that's going to do the first full review on this phone. I'm going to do a follow-up, but Lon right now is the one doing a review on the full retail unit. So just putting that out there. And obviously, you and I, Miriam, currently we have pre-pro units, so these are not finals.
I mean, mine looks flawless. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there's no problem here in terms. This is a premium, nice-looking phone, but it doesn't quite feel as premium as some other phones, like the Mate 8, like the Galaxy S7, like even the Nextbit in a way, because the Nextbit is plastic, but it's so well executed. And it's the same way as when Nokia made plastic phones. They were just so luxurious.
Well, and the material is going to bear mentioning, but I think your idea of the way it feels, I think that's going to be the part that makes.
That's going to be the part, right? Like, look, the OnePlus X, which is one of my favorite phones of last year, feels like a Rockstar premium, like bling. Look at this phone. And we didn't mention it earlier when we talked about the Honor 5X and the Moto G, but really, to me, that is the poster child of a really high quality mid-range phone, right there. It's missing some stuff, like the band for AT&T and then lack of fingerprint reader or whatever, or lack of NFC actually is more of a problem than the fingerprint reader, in my opinion. But, you can't have everything. So
I mean, it was the bands.
The Honor, the bands are a problem. The Honor 5X is like the OnePlus 2, very vexing in the sense that it's, it's got a fingerprint reader, but no NFC. Like Apple Pay, didn't anyone in marketing think, oh, we should spend the extra $1? Just $1 it costs. Because retail, it's $1. Because 20 cents to add the chip for the NFC, because Apple Pay is going to be a thing in the US eventually. And no. But we're going to put a fingerprint reader, so you can unlock your phone, but you can't do anything else with it. To me, that's kind of, we've already decked the OnePlus 2 for this. I mean, people like me and Andrew Martonic and a bunch of others that were at the OnePlus 2 launch event last year, and we're like, what the fuck were you thinking, OnePlus? Like, seriously? You give us a phone with a fingerprint reader that doesn't have an NFC, and you call that a flagship? And you call that a flagship. See, Honor didn't call it the 5X a flagship. So we were like, okay, fine, $200, no NFC. Let it slide.
Yeah, call it what it is a $200 phone. And I don't know, there's just the whole NFC thing, the whole mobile payment thing, I understand why it's a very like fun thing to talk about. I understand that might be the future, but it's not my future. It's not. I don't want my credit cards and my bank info to be in my phone where it could easily be hacked. I still like a physical credit card. I still like cash. I still like that stuff. So, as Michael Fisher once put it, this is my age line. This is where I begin to show my old fashionedness. I can't get on board with that. Not yet, at least.
And you know what? A lot of people are saying that, and I think I totally understand and respect where they're coming from. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it seems to me, look, if it was $20 to add NFC, I'd be like, look, totally get it. Like you don't want to put it in, fine. Like it's like a fingerprint reader is not $20, but it's probably a $5 thing to put in. It's not cheap. So especially a good one. So I can understand you leave it out. But like NFC, like, come on, it's been around for a decade. Like just put it in there and
Yeah,
call it a
I agree
day.
with that.
And then you enable for those who want with the fingerprint reader the choice of mobile payment. And I think that, you know, I use Android Pay all the time. Pretty much everything that I can pay with Android Pay, I use it. Or Apple Pay when I have my iPhone with me. I still have my credit cards with me because in places it doesn't work, I need them. But honestly, it's so much easier than for me to pull out my phone, put my finger on the fingerprint reader, tap it on the thing, than to go open my wallet, which I need both hands to do because otherwise stuff falls out of it, right? Because I have this really old janky wallet. And then find the right card. There's a few of them in there. Oh, which one is it? Oh, do I want to use this one today? You know, and then like scan it, and then sometimes it didn't scan the first time, or you scan it before they start adding things and it doesn't work. Like it's just a pain in the ass.
Well, then I'll say this then. If an Android or Samsung or whatever the case may be, I'm sure there's an Apple app out there that there might be by now because Apple Pay's been around for a while. If there's an app that every time you used Android Pay for no matter what card, no matter what purchase, it logged it, I would totally go for it because that would help me track my spending, which has been out of control because of all of this travel that we've been doing. But I would love that. That would make me consider using mobile payments.
So you can't. I mean, the thing that's you know, I used to use what was it called? Google. There was a thing called Google Wallet. That's what it was before Apple Pay,
Wallet,
before Google Android
which
Pay.
is defunct now, right?
And so that, what's that?
Isn't it defunct now? Aren't they?
It's defunct, but it used to itemize things for you really nicely. The reason it doesn't anymore, because really what it is it's creating a virtual version of the existing credit cards you already have with whatever bank and putting that on your phone. So, you know, they leave the itemization part to the bank card, right? Or to the bank. And this is why I love Square. So, you know, this is my rant for today. Square Wallet was an app that let you pay with your phone without NFC or fingerprint reader at any Square point of sale. And it was discontinued about a year and a half ago now. And there were 5 of us in the world using it. It was awesome. And I'm joking when I say 5 of us because that's why they discontinued it. It just didn't get the traction. But the method was really simple. You could use it on an iPhone, even like a 4S or a 4. You could use it on any cheap Android device without NFC. It's an app. It's user geolocation. When you walk into a store that has a Square payment terminal, you would pull out your phone out of your pocket and you would start the app manually. You could have it on a shortcut on the desktop. That was really fast. And then you would say, it would show you a list geolocated of where the store that were nearby that took Square. And so you'd be like, okay, I'm here in San Francisco. There was this place called Front near my house. So I'm at Front, and it would show me Front. I would tap on Front, and it would check me in. Like it wouldn't publicly tell anyone I was checked in there, but now the registered person could see that I was checked in. And when I would order and I'd get to the terminal and they would say, you know, how do you want to pay? I'd say, I want to pay with Square. And I'd look at the bottom of the terminal and they'd see me logged in and I'd say, I'm Miriam. And they'd find Miriam on there. And there was a photo of me so they could see me and match it. And I could show them my phone that it was me because my phone showed my photo and name at that point and on the app. And then they would charge it to my phone. And then I'd get a notification on my phone that says, hey, you've been charged this amount. And you could say yes or no, or you could say, I want to add a tip. And you had 5 hours to add a tip, which was great if you forgot and walked out of the coffee shop. More importantly, if you didn't do a purchase and you were still checked in and you walked out, it geofenced you and logged you out and checked you out right away as soon as you walked away from it. And of course, as soon as you walked away from it, as soon as you pay, you weren't checked in anymore. So you couldn't double charge someone. You couldn't say they still have an open tab or something. And the beauty of this is it didn't use any tapping or contact. And if you were a regular at a coffee shop and they knew you, they didn't even have to do this thing of looking at your phone or anything to validate it was you.
Yeah.
You could just show up and they know your face and they're like, Miriam's going to pay with Square. She's down there, she's checked in, done. And that was amazing. And we loved using it. Like San Francisco, it was so popular because so many people have Square terminals for point of sale.
Yeah,
that when they discontinued it, we were really bummed. And to me, this is the thing. It's like people are going on about Android Pay and Samsung Pay and Apple Pay, but they forget that we had Square Wallet for years, and it was awesome, and it was the most simple and effective. Why was it
discontinued though? Because
Square claimed that 5 of us were using it, and that they couldn't maintain a second app when they're a small company and they have all these retailers using their point of sale more and more and wanting more features in their point of sale app. And then the other thing that they felt that strategically, since they had 3 apps, the third app is Square Cash, which lets you send cash to anyone by text or email, like PayPal. The third app was taking off as well. So they're like, the point of sale is taking off and the Square Cash is taking off, but there's 5 wallet users in the entire world, which isn't true, but you know what I'm saying? It was the best analogy is there's very few. So let's discontinue Square Wallet because nobody's using it.
I see.
But I think in terms of the methodology, the process of the simple check in and put your phone in your pocket and wait for the notification and say who you are to the cash, right? And it was capped. You could set the cap to how much you could charge at a time. So you could say like, I don't want anybody to do a transaction bigger than $10. And for coffee stuff, it was awesome.
Yeah. Most definitely.
So there you go. That's my rant. Shit happens, I guess. I don't know. So Robin, we talked about the G5. I talked about the build. That's a bit of an issue for me, but it's mostly because, look, it is a $600 whatever phone, the G5. It's a flagship. And I'm just vexed when I see that they can't do a metal unibody like everyone else. LG still has yet to give us a metal unibody device that's perfectly machined and made of metal that is actually all the way through metal and anodized. And why can't they do that? What is stopping them from doing that? It took Samsung forever. We used to rail on Samsung for making shitty plastic phones.
True.
Now, the G5 is not shitty, and it's not really plastic. But at the same time, it just doesn't feel as premium as it should for a $600 phone. It feels like a Nexus to me. And if it sold at that price, I wouldn't be complaining. But at $600+, it's a problem. That's my take.
All right, there you go.
Any other things that tickled your fancy in terms of devices in the last 2 or 3 months?
Well, I did want to spend a few minutes talking about build.
Yeah, let's talk about build. The HoloLens.
Yeah, because I do need to sort of get going within.
Yeah, I know, and it's about an hour. We're almost at the 1 hour mark, just so you know. We're at 57 minutes for the audio part.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention the. So did you do development at all? Like,
Yeah, so I used to be a video game developer. I spent 15 years working with it was a Visual Studio, so I'm very familiar with it. Yes.
See, there you go. You had an in. I had nothing. I was invited to be there because some of the podcasters who were going to cover builds, they liked, my work on the Android Authority podcast and on our YouTube channel. And Microsoft wanted to reach out to people who aren't like, they might be adjacent at least to Microsoft. So they wanted to bring them in to see like, hey, look, Microsoft is a whole new, not a new company, but like we're doing new things and we're reaching out and stuff like that. So I thought that was great. They did a great job at Build, to just sort of like open things up a little bit, but I still felt so lost. And especially when it came to like talking to developers and everything, it was just, it was a very enlightening experience. And two takeaways from it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, credit where credit is due. I give developers, as I always have, all the credit in the world. But now that I've actually met a bunch of them face to face, you guys make the world go round. I completely agree with that. And at the same time, number two, Microsoft, you know what? I don't think I'm drinking any Kool-Aid here. You need to meet Microsoft people if you never have before. And they're doing a better job of sort of presenting themselves. They don't just seem like an old person's company anymore. That's what I was
and it's always been like that for the developer side. Like when I was a video game developer, I worked with Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft because all the Nintendo Wii platform stuff and the PlayStation, of course, and the Xbox. And I have to tell you, the Xbox is the most delightful platform. I worked at Sony as an evangelist. I was one of those people that my job was to make the platform more exciting for developers. And the reason I took that job is because as a developer, I found it so challenging to work on PlayStation compared to Xbox. And I thought, if I can make a difference, like these Microsoft people are so awesome and making a difference for Xbox developers, and go to Sony and do the same. And I did for a while. It was great. Because technically the PlayStation has always been a more difficult platform to work with because, for a number of reasons, sometimes the technology they used and other things. But a lot of it has to do with Microsoft having this incredible sense of community around developers. And, like this joke of Ballmer all sweaty on stage, developers. Now, this has always been the case with Microsoft. And as much as I hate Windows, I'm not a Windows person. And as much as I love the Lumias because I'm an ex-Nokia person in terms of being a fan. And as much as I love the Xbox, like there's a lot of things about Microsoft that I really love, the development tools, the Xbox, the community, the developer world that they create. And the fact that they are now something they didn't do 10, 20 years ago, but they're doing now, which is embracing open source, embracing standards, making things so that anyone can work on it. Xamarin is a framework for development that lets you create apps that run on iOS, Android, and Windows, right? With the same code. They're not Microsoft, but they got acquired by Microsoft, and Microsoft has now made it available. At Build, they announced they made it available free for developers. This is the kind of stuff that really gives Microsoft the edge. And I don't think you're drinking Kool-Aid. If you spend any time in the Microsoft development universe, in that community, you will really see that Microsoft, there's the Microsoft that does Windows, that the corporate entity that it's changed a lot since Satya Nadella came on board too, by the way. With Ballmer, it was a different world. Yeah. But there's that universe, but there's this whole other universe that few people really see. You do see it if you have an Xbox One, and you use it and you play, and you can see how cool it is. We saw a glimpse of it with Zune, especially in the later stages of Zune, because the Zune interface on the Toshiba-made Zune HD was actually what gave us Windows, the UI in Windows today, Windows Modern. And that was developed in-house by some really creative, awesome people. And then again, you have HoloLens. To me, I'm excited about HTC Vive and about Oculus, and to a lesser extent about Gear VR. But it's not VR that excites me. It's AR. And AR, nobody is doing it better right now than HoloLens and Microsoft. They have completely nailed it. It's got a lot of room to grow and improve. Better field of view needs to happen. More affordable devices. But when you put a HoloLens on right now, you're putting a full-on computer on your face that is capable of doing some incredible, like, real-time mapping of your environment. I don't know if you got any demos of the HoloLens, but it's really
I did the Mars one, and I thought that one was pretty awesome. And the only thing is, like,
it's small.
It's small. It's a small field of view, but I think it's good to have that periphery. But I don't know, like, it's an interesting idea to see people walk into their houses and then don this, like, visor, like it literally does feel like the future in all senses of the word, whether good or bad. But you're absolutely right. Like, I just thought it was so funny. Like, I was walking to the HoloLens thing, I came out of it, and I was like, that was actually a really enjoyable experience. I could see how HoloLens could definitely be, like, an addition to what might be, let's say, a smart home. But it was just so funny walking around on that first day of Build. I was like, okay, so they have iOS developers here, and then I'm the only Android guy in this podcasting area, but I'm not a developer. So what are they looking for here? And then I was walking around looking for places that I would feel like I would fit in. And I was like, oh, gaming. Oh crap, I own a PS4. So I was like, so I had no in whatsoever. But you know what? Everyone was super nice. I actually felt like they were really just they just wanted to educate me. And I thought that was a great way of handling what situation was me of all people being at Build. So I have to give Microsoft a lot of credit.
See, I'm going to finish this by saying that for me, the reason I'm so excited about AR, despite the fact that it's this big and you have a big visor on your face, it's wireless, which is good. And but it's heavy and big compared to, the future is. Eventually it'll be like this pair of glasses, and it will last all day. And more importantly, and this is the thing that people just don't seem to be getting today, is that you'll be able to put blinders on, basically, and be in VR. AR is the superset. AR is the future. VR is a subset of AR. VR is AR with the blinders on. When you want to immerse yourself, you do VR. When you want to interact with the world, you do AR. I just don't understand why no more people don't get that. That's how you have to look at it.
That is true.
And,
that is
and it's going to come. Right now, we can only do VR with these, something like Oculus or Gear or Vive, because it needs to encompass our whole field of view, and we don't have the technology to make it light and small and wireless. It'll come. Give it 2 years, 5 years, and we'll be wearing tiny, tiny little VR goggles that are barely covering our eyes, and you won't need your glasses because they'll autofocus into your eyes and measure your eyes, focus distance, and automatically everything will be not blurry and perfect, and they'll be lightweight and they'll run all day, and powered by 5G networks. That'll happen. But to me, what's even more exciting, if you can do that and they're your normal glasses, and every day, everything you look at can have some data superimposed to it. Now it's the ultimate computer. You can talk to it by voice. Like, that's what Cortana is so exciting to me, because they're doing some really interesting things with those bots that they announced at Build, which lets you query things like, say, I want to order pizza from Domino's. Can you get me a pepperoni pizza that's a medium size? And it's automatically built to your account. Done. You just talk to Cortana, and it made sense of your words and created an order on the Domino's site. You don't have to. It's like the future of apps. You don't have to create a new. You don't have to go visit the website. There's no point, because you can just tell your bot to do it for you. And I think right now the technology that exemplifies that the best is Amazon's Echo, where you can tell it, like, I want to order this show.
I've been hearing so much about the Echo.
Echo is amazing. You need to get one. It is unbelievable. Huh. It is the future of voice interaction with computers. It is so good. Yeah. Anyway,
I'll have to try it out. Yeah, but that could be obviously a discussion for another time.
It's a great way to end the podcast on the futurism. Boom.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I mean, I have a smorgasbord of phones in front of me also. I think we've covered pretty much all of them.
I think we've covered everything.
Except for the one that we're going to hopefully talk about within the next few weeks. So
yes,
hopefully that will be coming soon. I would love to be on that episode, by the way. Yeah, I would love to be.
Well, if you want to come back in 2 weeks or something, absolutely, let's do it.
That'd be great.
I think we'll have a lot to talk about.
We're both there, so we will be able to share our experiences perfectly.
Shh, don't tell too much. We're going to get in trouble. So, do you want to pimp yourself, tell people where they can find you, your vlog, your work at Android Authority, all that good stuff, all the URLs and Twitter handles that they need to muster?
Oh yeah, for sure. I was just about to say, like, I feel like I should make a graphic that's available on like my Google Drive, so I can like do this and then it'll show.
Nice.
But you can find me, of course, at androidauthority.com and the YouTube channel, where you're going to see me the most, reviewing any number of phones. I've been at it for a few years now, so it's if you don't know me already, head on over there. But viewers and listeners of the show, you guys might already recognize me anyway. But nonetheless, androidauthority.com, and you can find me on social media, on Twitter and Instagram mostly, because personally, and this is again a discussion for another time, I don't really like Google Plus, and Instagram and Twitter at JVTechT. That's TEA, the drink, Tech T. So JV Tech T for my social media. And I did start finally working on my personal channel, which I've had for months now, but I haven't been touching for a number of different reasons. But you can find that at youtube.com/TechNT. Once again, that's TEA, the drink, youtube.com/TechNT. That should pretty much do it on my end. That's all of my plugs. I just put up, I had videos from Build also. So since we were talking about Build, I do have a few behind the scenes videos vlogging at Microsoft Build. So you can check that out too. Yeah,
so check that out. Stay tuned for more. I'm going to try to do this weekly show. I just have to settle down and come up with some things to talk about. Stay tuned for more of that. Stay tuned for maybe another podcast with Josh about the thing that we were talking about.
Oh, yes.
And then, you'll have an audio version of this up in a few days. The YouTube version should be out momentarily as soon as it stops broadcast. So I'm back, and hopefully for more regularly than I was. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks, Josh, for being on the podcast. That was really, really awesome. I'm glad we were able to make it work.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm always humbled whenever I'm considered for stuff like this. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye, everybody.